of Finance and Economic Planning in Nyeri County will present the county budget to the County Assembly of Nyeri. This year's budget is a total of 8 billion, with 70% of that amount allocated to recurrent expenditure. Now, the budget reading comes in the wake of County Assembly's downing tools over a crisis with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Clement Masombo is speaking to Robert Duo, the CEC for Finance in Nyeri, for a preview of that particular budget.
Well, good morning to you, Jesse. Indeed, this afternoon, the CEC in charge of Finance and Economic Planning here in Nyeri County, Robert Thuo, will be presenting that budget to the County Assembly of Nyeri. And remember, this is a budget with a totaling to about 8 billion shillings, out of which 70% has been allocated to development, while 30% has been allocated, actually 70% has been allocated to the recurrent expenditure, and 30% as required by the law has been allocated to development. And I will be speaking to the CC just to give us a highlight of how they have allocated those funds in terms of departmental allocations, and of course also telling us how they expect to fund their budget. Remember, they have allocation of about they have the capital share is equitable share from the National Treasury is about 6 billion shillings, but then they also have other means of raising those other remaining the deficit to get their target of 8 billion shillings budget, even as they target to collect on-source revenue of about 800 million shillings. Remember, last year there was it was targeting, the Nyeri County government was targeting to collect 1 billion, but then this year the CC has targeted to collect about 800 million shillings. So thank you so much, Waziri, for joining us live on KTN News. Even as you come, you should be telling us how you plan to raise the remaining deficit of that budget, 8 billion shillings budget, and of course also give us a preview of how you have allocated those funds per department, be it development as well as recurrent expenditure. But then, as usual, we expect that of course agriculture and health should be taking the greatest chunk of your budget. Last year, I understand that this year health department is taking about 2.8 billion shillings, both the development and recurrent expenditure. So you could kindly stand and give us a preview of your budget, this year's financial year budget of about 8 billion shillings.
Okay, thank you, Clement. My name is Robert Dumwangi, the County Executive Committee member for Finance, Economic Planning and ICT, County Government of Nyeri. Today, this afternoon, God willing, we shall be making a budget pronouncement at the County Assembly of Nyeri upon invitation. This is as per the Public Finance Management Act, Section 132, subsection 1 and 2, where you're supposed to, the CC Finance or the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury gives highlights on areas of revenue raising that he will put in place to ensure that you're able to finance the budget. The budget that I'm supposed to present today is about 8 billion. Around 2.4 will go to development, while about 5.6 billion will go to recurrent. The law stipulates that at least a minimum of 30% should go to development. So we are actually at the minimum. We should actually have more. We have been endeavoring to get to a higher percentage, but this has not happened. The reason being that we should do more of development and recurrent. So this time around, the health department takes the biggest share. We realize that commodities, that is drugs and non-pharmaceuticals, take a huge chunk of money. We employ a huge number of medical personnel, from doctors, nurses, and commodities. So it's actually a consuming department. He's a heavy guzzler, would say that. But I'm also happy that while financing health, in the year 2021, we were able to enact legislation, the Nyeri Health Services Fund. So currently, we have done about 360 million, and the target is about 400 million. The way the fund is put is in such a way that you can now spend at source. So it's the revenue. I mean the health revenue collected is ring-fenced. So when hospitals collect this fund, this money, it doesn't have to go to the control budget and for approvals and treasury and all that. They open an account. The board sits. They are guided. I've given the guidance for that, and the legislation is there to support it. So that is how we have tried to do to ensure that there is efficiency and accountability and the turnaround time for us to get medicine and things like that for hospitals are there. Secondly, our wage bill is a bit high. Is about 50.1% against what the law requires of 35%.